Well, episode 27. It's been a while since we've done one. So, but now that we've got a marketing director, we're going to be on this a little bit more often and we'll be looking for new episodes coming up. So, thank you for following us and I'm sorry for the delay, but I think we're on track and on schedule. So, without further ado, here's episode 27 with my longtime friend, Holly Nicholson, who's now got a new title as a transformation and resilience coach. And what she's doing is she's helping first responders and veterans and the such transition from their previous life, which is high adrenaline, run, 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 as they retire and they're coming into what normal civilian population, if I have that correct.
Pretty close.
Pretty close.
The resilience part of it is probably the biggest part. It's not just for those transitioning out of their career and taking off the badge and the uniform. It's also for the people that we want to get to stay in their careers and reap the rewards that they worked so hard to get to. Building resilience so that they can handle the stress and the pressure. The younger people coming up behind us, the generations that are newer, aren't made of the same thing, don't have to deal with the same pressures that used to be considered, oh, suck it up, cowboy up, push yourself through it. And we're trying to find better ways to keep them in the job and keep them happy and keep them healthy in the process.
It's funny, I was talking with a mutual friend of ours who's a former law enforcement officer and combat Marine. And we were talking about it yesterday. He was just kind of going on about certain things. I was like, oh, so you basically just compartmentalized it and didn't process it. And he's like, yep, that's about the right way to put it. Right. And so I was like, okay.
Put it in a box.
Yeah. He goes, because you see things on a daily basis. He goes, well, you've seen things in the ER. I said, but it's different. In the ER, the environment's clean.
It's controlled.
And I'm not seeing it at its worst, because the worst situation is they never made it to the ER.
Right.
And he's like, and he talked about, rolling up on scene and seeing body parts long before you've seen the victim. Right. And I'm sure that you've been there and done that.
Absolutely.
And I was exposed to some of that when I was doing, my volunteer work as a tactical physician with SWAT, and would see a couple things in that environment, which is completely different than,
right.
Being an ER physician or a trauma physician. Yes, you see things, but it's a different environment, right. I think.
Yeah. In the clinical setting, it's a completely different thing, because when you see those things in nature, in situ, you can't unsee them. You just can't, but you figure out how to categorize, compartmentalize, lock it away. Some people are better at it than others. Some people are more geared towards that, but it will come back and it will rear its ugly head. So eventually.
It's all PTSD, basically,
yeah.
right?
Well, now they call it CPTSD, complex, because it's repetitive trauma over and over. Military, fire, LEO, it's your job and you have to see it. You see things that the common public should never see.
Right.
And you do it daily.
That was the point we were talking about. Is this like a daily thing? And it's gradations.
Sure.
But it's just a constant bombardment. The only thing I could think of is, similar to this in a different textual thing is, being in a contact sport and getting head injury after head injury, and they're small, but every time you hit your head, it's trauma to the brain.
Right.
And it's just repetitive over and over in a game, in practice, and then you go through a career. Right. So,
and you wonder why there are addictive personality traits coming up. You wonder why you become violent and difficult with your family, why you snap at everybody. You don't intend to do those things at all, but it's the repetitive head injury. It's the daily trauma, thing. It will come out and rear its ugly head. You just don't really know what to do with it.
Well, and then up until most recently, and then kind of with your work, and then we look at CTE or TBI. Traumatic encephalopathy, chronic traumatic encephalopathy, CTE. TBI is traumatic brain injury. It's just been in the last 10, 15 years that we've actually really recognized this and started to really understand it. And a lot of people have taken their lives, and in a way that they could donate their brain to science for greater research. And we're starting to see a lot of different things with this. So, we're getting more information, and with the more information that we have, the better we can treat these things. And it's an ongoing process. And I think that's what one of our goals for today was, to really kind of put this out, as far as what we're seeing in our first responders, not the CTE and TBI stuff, but still emotional trauma and things that we could recognize in healthcare and in ways to potentially address it. Is that about right?
Exactly right. And it kind of points back to, and I'm sure you recall this, that I'm a certified professional brain health coach as well.
That's right.
In my training through the Amen's Clinic. And he has done over 250,000 SPECT scans of brains. And it's just, I mean, when you can actually see it, psychology is the only medical science that does not look at the organ it treats.
Right. There's no imaging for it. Well, there is imaging for it. They don't look at it. They don't utilize it.
Right. They don't look at it. They only go by basically history, signs and symptoms, and what the patient has to say. So I think it's very interesting that they are doing such deep work now for TBIs and athletes, especially veterans, athletes, everybody else is dealing with that. So that's a big part of my training, and it's also part of how I help my clients.
Very cool. Oh, so do you recommend people get SPECT scans?
Absolutely.
Okay.
If they can afford it. It's not a cheap endeavor. But, if things are looking in that direction, the first thing I do is, of course, you need to get a good functional medicine doctor. You need to get some diagnostic work done. Let's make sure all your labs are in place. And then we can work on the other things that I can help you with, the tools that I can direct you towards.
Well, and just because I don't know, I'm sure they're available here in the Valley, SPECT scan.
Mm-hmm.
And then is it somebody who's been trained, through Dr. Amen to read it? Or
that one, I can't answer to that, but I do know that it's available at several of the imaging places now, but it's about $4,000.
Okay.
So,
well,
but when your life's on the line,
right.
absolutely.
I mean, you're investing in your health, and and if you're going to make a decision on $4,000 for that or $4,000 for something else,
right?
Well, maybe put your health first.
Exactly.
But don't go without food.
Exactly.
don't miss your mortgage payment.
Okay.
So, all right. So non-negotiables when it comes to foundational health in midlife and beyond. So what are some non-negotiables? On my side, I think it's, exercise. And I think both cardiovascular and resistance training, but to take it a step further, it's mobility, it's stability, it's flexibility. Those are things that I'm working on now because I didn't work on them when everybody told me to when I was younger. And I said, screw you. I know better because I can lift more than everybody. Right?
Yeah. Would that get you? Messed up shoulders.
Yeah.
Hips.
Well, it got me to see a physical therapist twice a week.
Right. Exactly.
With no end in sight. But, that part to me goes without saying. And then, there's, I think the hormone balancing also for both men and women, in my opinion, they're non-negotiables. And the data out there has now really reversed over what I was listening to and bumping heads with for almost nearly the 20 years I've been doing this is, you're going to cause prostate cancer. You're going to cause breast cancer. And you're like, no, I'm not. Right. And because I understood the data when it was originally presented, and other people didn't read the data, they were unable to understand it. And they allowed the media to tell them, this said it's going to increase breast cancer. I was like, that's not what it says at all. And they took that away from 2 generations of women because physicians were afraid to prescribe it. So I say it with good authority and in that I think it's essential for men and women, unless there is an absolute reason that you can't do it. If you actually have breast cancer and you're going, no, you shouldn't be on hormone therapy, but that
that's another episode.
Right. But without that, I think you're safe. I have a strong family history. That it doesn't matter.
That doesn't mean
cause,
it's you. Right.
Right. So, anyway, so what do you think are some of the non-negotiables?
I tend to agree definitely with hormone replacement therapy and exercise. I still, at 65 years old, don't laugh. I'm Medicare happy now. But anyway, no, they're foundational for me. There's no way that I would ever make changes in that until I'm unable to. But nutrition is tantamount in my opinion. Super important to speak to that when we buy into the way the media and big pharma presents food to us. It's all about speed and convenience and packaging and advertising and everything else. They don't want us healthy. They want us sick. No slam to Western medicine. That's not my point. What I'm saying is each of us has to be responsible by taking care of what we put in our bodies. And sometimes consuming is not just food. It's also what we read, what we watch, what we listen to, and what we surround ourselves with.
So, I mean, that's, you couldn't say that better. I mean, it's, what have you noticed? We've known each other 20 plus years, right?
Way plus.
But your diet then was, and your goals and everything was different than it is now. But now that you're technically a senior, oh boy.
The old weight maker.
But what would you, what have you noticed in your diet? Some changes that have occurred over the years. I mean, you probably don't eat as much.
Right.
But what about your protein intake versus?
Super high protein and even higher fat intake, which earlier in my life when I was a competitive bodybuilder, I was terrified of fat. Oh my God. I tried to keep my fat grams below 20 grams a day, which is super hard. But I was heavier carbohydrate, heavier protein, low fat. Now my diet is quite the opposite. Super low carbohydrate diet. What carbohydrates I do eat are not processed. I don't even eat rice anymore. Nothing that is flour based for the most part. I have my days, but very slim and very few and far between. But I go heavy protein. I make sure I get in 30 grams first thing in the morning. And then I don't have a meal until around noon, 11 to noon. And then I eat again. I try to eat between 4 and 5 in the evening. So that way I'm not going to bed with my metabolism jacked up trying to process food while I'm trying to get sleep, because that's the other foundational thing, sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody agrees it's sleep.
Right.
That's a great segue into the next question, right?
You think?
Right. So did you read ahead?
No.
Oh, wait, you wrote?
I wrote these. Actually, I did, and it just happened that way.
But why is sleep the most underutilized performance enhancer, and what sabotages it most often? Wow. I think we take it for granted, and then
I'll sleep when I'm dead.
That's the old adage, right?
Yeah.
We don't need it. And, but again, is we learn more from the medical literature and the science and studies that are looking at it. We just find that out of all the things we talked about, it may be the most important.
Absolutely.
Right.
And I agree with that.
Yes. The brain.
And the hardest to control.
Yeah.
Actually.
And the brain goes through processes of literally cleaning itself at different stages of sleep. It's just magnificent when you get a good night's sleep, and everybody can relate to that. If you get a good night's sleep, you feel so much better the next day versus a poor night's sleep. Right. Drink a little alcohol, drink a little caffeine, and then try to go to bed and see how you feel the next morning. I don't suggest you do that, but if you want to find out, do that. And then, a couple of days, don't do that for a few days and see how much better you feel when you wake up.
Well, sleep is kind of like, if you want to speak to the younger realm here, if you look at your computer, you have to defrag it, because otherwise those files are all in the wrong places. They're not where they're supposed to be. When we go to sleep at night, our sleep spindles wind down and they defrag our brain and put everything, the long-term memories, short-term memories, put everything where it belongs. But if you don't get that deep rest sleep, that important stage of your sleep, REM is good, yes, but to get all that cleansing done, you have to get into deep sleep, and you have to really have good sleep hygiene to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I've listened to Matt Walker talk on this, and it's just been,
Yeah.
learned so much from him. So,
Exactly.
find a podcast with Matt Walker or get his book if you really
His
want to
book,
know
yeah.
about sleep and the benefits of it. And kind of what sabotages that. Well, like we said, what we consume, I think, and on all the levels that you mentioned. I mean, you don't think about it, but people go to bed with their phone and they're looking at their phone or their tablet. And generally it's looking at dopamine hitting,
Absolutely.
little things feeding the, and
That's why phones are so popular. We get a dopamine hit repeatedly every few seconds. It's
and
like
that's
a
not
hit of
helpful for
cocaine
sleep.
over and over and over. No, plus it's blue light. So you've got your brain stimulated with both manners.
Messing up your melatonin.
Set a routine.
Yeah.
And the first thing you do is turn off your screens.
Yep. Yeah. And another piece of that is you're watching. I've just noticed this. I go to the hockey game and I watch the hockey game, but I'm usually on a normal night in bed by 8 o'clock. So if I go to the hockey game, I'm not in bed until 10. So I lost 2 hours, but I'm coming from an environment that was high energy.
Very high energy. You're stimulated. Your sympathetic nervous system is on overdrive.
But your brain doesn't recognize that you're just a passenger. Or you're not a participant, but you really are participating in that environment. And so your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up, all of these
You're invested
things.
in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just or you could watch a movie with, trauma involved in the movie, and your brain kind of gravitates to make you a player in that event. Right. And so it's hard to, is the objective, we can separate ourselves from reality and fiction, but the brain's reaction to that fiction is reality in the hormonal milieu per se, if that makes sense. Right.
And each of our personal reality at that time. Stress plays a huge factor in whether you can sleep or not, whether you can actually put it away and wind down at the end of the night, or do you lay there and ruminate over the argument, over what the boss said to you, over the person that scratched your car, over 110 million things
that you have no control over.
But you do have control over it. There are simple tools that you can take yourself out of that sympathetic drive.
Yes.
And stimulate your parasympathetic drive so that your body goes into the rest and digest.
Well, I mean, you don't have controls over those situations
no, you
that
don't.
you're ruminating
right.
on,
yes.
but you do have control over your response to it.
Exactly.
I think that's what we're getting at.
Very clear. Yes, thank you.
How you, can recognize that you're in that loop. Mm-hmm. I call it the bowl. It's so, in some of the meditations I've done, it's been kind of like envisioning yourself in a theater and you're watching a movie, and then pull yourself back to the top of the theater and watch yourself watching the movie and see how you're acting. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, and I was able to pull myself back and start looking at things, and it gave me a greater awareness. And I went, oh, wait a second. I am allowing this to affect me. So when I call it the bull, I get a choice. When the bull comes, I can watch it walk by, or I can decide to jump on its back and go for a ride. Right?
That's a great analogy.
And when I decide, because there's times I go, okay, I'm going to go for a ride. And I do. And I notice that I'm thinking about it. My heart rate's going up. My blood pressure's going up. Everything. And then I finally go, okay, get off the bull now. Because you're in control of this. Now get off of them. And I've been doing it long enough that I can let the bull go and I can just go and get off them, and I'm not amped up.
Right.
But more and more I'm getting to where I just let the silly bull walk by.
Right. I love to hear that you're still meditating, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But in the point that you made that might have gotten past because everybody was thinking about you riding a bull, but is the fact that you rose above yourself and became the observer.
Yeah.
And that's what meditation is about. Not engaging, but observing. And as those thoughts go by, let them blow on by,
Yeah.
So, and that's the difference, is being able to engage and not engage in stimulating your parasympathetic nervous system. That's a long word. But I'm glad to hear you're still meditating. Yeah. Very good.
Hey. let's talk HRT. What's the biggest myth and what's the truth? Well, I think we already covered it.
Right.
The biggest myth for females is that HRT is going to increase your risk of breast cancer. It is absolutely not true. There are aspects of it, but it's not the estradiol. So everybody's, oh, the estrogen is going to cause breast cancer. BS. It does not. The form of progestin can increase the risk of breast cancer. So micronized progesterone does not. It actually lowers the risk of breast cancer. But some of the synthetic progestins absolutely increase the risk of breast cancer. So if you're concerned about breast cancer with HRT, find yourself a qualified bioidentical hormone replacement physician or somebody, that isn't going to use the synthetic progestins that have been shown in the medical literature to increase the risk of breast cancer. Now, there are some synthetics that do not, and I'll be honest, I couldn't tell you what they are because I will not use them, because my philosophy is give the body what it's missing, and the body didn't miss some chemical made by Dow. I'm sorry. Yeah. It was missing micronized or it was missing progesterone, and it has to be micronized. So getting them exactly what they, the body needs. And then the other one, I think one of the biggest myths, and I thought I laughed at it when I first heard it around 2017, that is taking testosterone is going to increase your risk for heart disease. And I've seen all the ambulance chasers here in Las Vegas putting up commercials going, if you took testosterone and had a heart attack, call me and I'll sue for you. And I knew one of them, and I was like, you're on testosterone, you moron. But it was, and I actually was going to call him, and I talked to my colleague at the time, and he's like, no, just let him go around and be stupid, because he's wasting a bunch of money on these advertisements for a class action lawsuit that never gained anything. And to validate that even further, the FDA just took the black box warning off earlier this year on testosterone products, because it's been proven in the Traverse trial, and I did an episode covering the Traverse trial, that testosterone replacement therapy does not increase your risk for heart disease, period, end of discussion. So those are the two biggest myths that I have, right?
Yeah. The Women's Health Initiative did not do women any favors whatsoever, and we're still trying to recover from that. But
if it had been interpreted correctly,
right,
there was a lot of good information in there. Just that interpretation was wrong.
Right.
It was just wrong.
Well, and that's when everybody got a hysterectomy too.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And not only was a total abdominal hysterectomy, it was bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy. So taking both of the ovaries. I can say it was BSO, but I can't say the
oophorectomy.
Yeah. So, what's clinical expertise? What are the early signs that someone's hormones are off, and what should they do first? Well, for women, we're talking about perimenopause. So, fluctuations in menstrual cycle, as far as duration. A lot of women that I've seen complain of issues they never suffered from before, but mostly PMS, bloating, breast tenderness, headaches, irritability, heavier menstrual cycles, more cramping. Any combination of those. Those are suggestions of an imbalance between progesterone and estradiol, and that to me is perimenopause.
Right. That's the beginning.
Yeah.
The beginning part there.
Right. and then another common one for both that I would do. Oh, this is easy. Is, doc, I've been working out harder than I've ever trained before. My diet's cleaner than it's ever been before, and I'm in worse shape. Like, WTF? What's going on? And that was a clue to me for both men and women that there's something off in your hormonal milieu. Let's address that. Once we figure that out, they find that, they were basically taking one step forward and two steps back, right, as far as the amount of effort they were putting in to maintain a less than optimal level. And then we kind of balance everything out, and they're doing well. As far as the men's side of it, it's a decrease in strength, endurance. Women suffer from that as well. Right. Libido for both sides.
That's what I was just going to bring up.
Yeah.
It's that lack of libido, maybe the vaginal dryness for the women, or even farther into the to the signs and symptoms when we get to that point with it. But yeah, you do have some sexual changes with it. And sometimes you think it's the age of the relationship. I'm stressed out. I'm tired. Yes. And those things can add to and drive your hormones down.
Right. Right. So it's just this whole, because our ability to handle stress with low hormones goes down.
Exactly.
But, then because we've been on the other side of that with, the hormone world is Goldilocks and the three bears. Not too little, not too much, just right. Because I can speak for myself. I've been on the too much side, and that's another story. So, because then you're in that fight or flight all the time as well, right? Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I understand that.
All right, here's where we get into the ones that I thought were fun and made me do some work.
I knew you had the answers. We just had to pull them out of you.
Yeah. So how do unresolved stress, trauma, or burnout show up in lab work or hormone panels? I think the part for me that got me was the unresolved part. Mm-hmm. Right? I was like, well, I don't know.
How do I know that it's unresolved trauma? All trauma is unresolved trauma.
Okay.
So
if you put it that way, then all right, it makes sense.
So you're just filling that black box. You're full of bad, dark things that you're not dealing with, which is in turn going to change your blood work.
Yeah. So I would think, one of the things would be being in that constant fight or flight, like we were just talking about, right?
Yes.
So for the lady folks, when we talk about that, that's an upregulation of your adrenaline, which is epinephrine, norepinephrine. And what ends up happening physiologically with that is if your brain is like you're running from a wolf, a dire wolf that they're remaking now. And you either run from it or you try to kill it, right? It's fight, flight, or freeze, right?
Or fawn.
Or what?
Fawning, where you just kind of lay down and pretend you're not there.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. But in any of those, your heart rate's up, your blood pressure's up, and then these hormones are up. And the design of that is in that situation, it's increasing glucose production by your liver. So your body has fuel to burn, even if you don't have it in your system. Because you got to either fight to survive or you got to flee, or one of those four things that you're doing. It's all survival. And so we cannot control the other physiologic part of that. So if you're in that constantly, then you're going to have elevations in glucose, probably in insulin, and it probably can lead to insulin resistance, I would think, right?
Absolutely.
And so there's that. We know that these higher stress states, because when cortisol goes up, you got to start thinking about the biochemistry of steroidogenesis. So all of our sex hormones come from cholesterol. The first step is cholesterol goes to something called pregnenolone. Pregnenolone can go down a pathway to progesterone, which we just talked about. It can go down to make testosterone and estradiol, or it goes to cortisol. And if you're in a high stress situation, that cortisol level is staying up. And so you have less pregnenolone available to make the sex hormone. So then that would answer why your DHEA levels go down, your testosterone, estradiol levels go down. So I think those are, a couple things. I think with that higher cortisol, we do a body composition analysis. We would see probably greater amounts of visceral fat, body fat, mostly visceral fat though. Yes.
That's right? The unhealthy fat. The subcutaneous fat, we can quickly, change that with diet and exercise. The visceral fat, the fat that builds up around your organs, is the unhealthy fat that is the heart attack causing, the cancer causing, the inflammation causing. So you're going to see, like we talked about, an increase in inflammation, increase in blood sugar and relative insulin based upon that.
Triglycerides,
all of it.
Yeah.
So stress and trauma go hand in hand with poor health. I mean, it's you can't be stressed out all the time and stay healthy. You just can't.
Yeah.
So without belaboring the whole thing,
right,
what do you wish more people knew about their nervous system health and their mind-body connection?
I think that you have more control over it than you know that you may be aware of. And I think learning some simple techniques, Holly teaches a lot of this stuff. There's a great book by James Nestor called Breathe or Breath, depending on how you want to read the title.
Yeah.
But I learned, some good breathing techniques. There's something called the physiologic sigh
Yep.
that we know.
Andrew Huberman uses that quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
But yes,
That lowers your blood pressure and your heart rate within seconds.
90-second
There's
stress relief.
There's box breathing that from, we teach our special operations guys under a stressful circumstance to be able to keep their cool. They do box breathing. There's meditation, and it does, we get caught up. And I think maybe because I'm old school and you think, oh, meditation is this woo woo, and it's not. It's the simplest thing. I mean, it just focus on your breathing. Just don't think of anything else and just concentrate on in goes the breath, out goes the breath. And then there's things you can do with that. But if you just focus on, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, that's meditation because you're focused on something different. And there is a ton of different apps that you can do. But I think even Netflix has a special that on meditation. It's very elementary of ways to teach you how to meditate. But I think that's something that if everybody really started to look into just a little bit, you don't have to become a yogi.
It's not about sitting cross-legged and holding a mudra with your fingers and
No.
shutting your mind down
I mean,
for hours on end.
If you want to go that way,
sure.
God bless
Eventually.
you. Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
at least in the beginning, start to do some of this stuff. And I've talked to patients and they're like, I can't. And I'm like, you can. You're just in your own head and just practice.
Yep.
But they put up a wall. I don't want to. And I think it's because they're afraid of the thoughts.
Exactly.
Right?
And that's what the whole thing is.
And that's the trauma.
Two of the biggest foundational tools, what I call tactical tools in my toolbox with my clients, is meditation, breath work. But I always start with breath work because your breath is your anchor in meditation. When you start to ruminate, when a thought comes through and you grab onto it and you climb on that bowl and you go, oh, crap, I'm thinking again. I'm supposed to be meditating. All you have to do is come back to your breath.
Mm-hmm.
Come back to that breath. Focus on the length of your inhale, extending your exhale. Where do you feel the air? Is it coming in? Do you feel it around your nostrils? Do you feel it on your upper lip? Is your chest expanding? Is your belly expanding? Just focus on all of the physiological things in your breath and all those thoughts go away.
Yeah.
So it's always your anchor and that's what you come back to.
I'll tell you.
Great tool.
I'll tell you what's a really good tool for pain management.
Yes.
If I brought my physical therapist over, they'll tell you I am box breathing the entire time they are doing things to me.
Unless you're going to be panting and screaming.
Yeah. Well, I caught myself doing that and I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I'm like, okay, get control. Cause some of that stuff is quite bloody painful. And I didn't get in that position without pain. So I'm not getting out of it without pain.
You're right.
And so I recognize that. And once I started implementing box breathing, it makes it so much easier. Is there times that I lose focus? Yep. The pain wins sometimes, but I just kind of regather myself and get back into just focus
Anchor
back on the
your
breath. Yeah. And I do that subconsciously. But yeah, it works amazingly well.
I recall as a very young person, my father actually had a surgical procedure done with only transcendental meditation. I didn't realize till I was much older that my father was very deep into meditation, and there was always books on transcendental around the house and blah, blah, blah. And he actually had a procedure done without any anesthesia because he needed to be able to fly. He was a fighter pilot in the Air Force and he needed to be able to fly. So he went through it without anesthesia and just meditated through the whole procedure. That's pretty impressive.
What was the procedure? Do you
don't recall? I wish I could recall, but I know it was something that most people would be like, no way.
Yeah.
It's not like getting a tooth pulled or something. No, it was an actual surgical procedure.
Yeah, we're getting a tooth pulled sucked without.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Um, how important is the role of nutrition in longevity resilience? I think we covered that.
We did. Let's talk
Oh,
about the mistake.
yeah, I think that, yeah, like, I'm laughing because I think of the mistakes and it's just like, holy crap. And then until you bring it to light, you don't really pay attention to it. But, you know, pretty much every, I don't want to say every, right? But a vast majority of the first responders I know are all drinking energy drinks. The last thing in the world they need.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, in the SWAT hangar, they have them in cases.
Cases by the pallet.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
It is. I mean, because people donate that to them, which is wonderful, but that's the last thing these guys need.
It's terrible. It causes dehydration. It's hard on your blood pressure. It's hard on your heart. It's not helping your brain at all.
Well,
and there are long-standing effects from drinking those.
Yeah. I mean, it can lead to increased risk for AFib. My understanding, I heard from a physician colleague and friend of ours, Dr. Dale Carrison, at one time he had mentioned that he had heard that they'd taken away from the Navy pilots on the aircraft carriers because it's too much.
Yeah,
you know,
it is
like
too amped up.
Yeah, I mean, you can drink coffee, but these things, I mean, they just have way too much caffeine and things I think that are in there to enhance the effect of the caffeine as well. So, I mean, there's that. And then for a lot of these men and women, the old adage of, you know, if you fail to plan to fail when it comes to diet.
Right.
And then they're not bringing their food with them. And I can tell you that the number of SWAT guys that I knew that brought their own food with them was a very small amount, but they were guys I knew from the gym.
I always did.
You not only brought your own food, but you made sure
I
what
make
they
sure
ate there,
everybody
the firefighters all ate clean because, you know, so
the food Nazi was in the house.
That was you. You know, they were lucky they got pies at Christmas time.
Yeah.
But,
and only for that one day.
But typically they're eating fast food.
Right. And they're sitting in a vehicle. They're on duty. They don't have time to log off and sit down and actually have a meal. And they can't relax while they're in there anyway. I mean, how many officers have dealt with situations while they were logged off on their mealtime? Their job doesn't ever stop. No. Just like same in the fire service. You could be in the middle of a wonderful dinner that you've spent hours cooking and you get called out on a fire and you don't get back to the station till 4 hours later. You know, you want to eat when you can. So they kind of fall back on the easy, convenient stuff or grab something, stop at 7-Eleven and grab something. I'm starving, you know.
I think of the EMS workers coming in the hospital.
Exactly. They live in an ambulance.
And what we had for them in the hospital to eat, I'm like, can we give them something better? I would be hungry. What's there to eat? We'll go in the EMS room. I'm like, I wouldn't eat this. Yeah. I'll go hungry. And then you start to look.
Juice boxes and peanut butter crackers.
Yeah. And you start to look at a lot of these, you know, these are people out there, you know, trying to do everything they can to help the public. And I'm not trying to take a dump on them.
No.
But their health, you look at them and you're like, you're a walking heart attack.
Right.
You know,
a lot of them. Yes.
You know, because you're eating your trauma. And there's a lot of them that are overweight. They don't take care of themselves. And I've seen people come into it in great shape. And then a few years later, you're like, what happened?
Well, they work long shifts. Mm-hmm. Ambulance is a 12-hour shift. Fire department's a 24, sometimes 36, sometimes 48 or 72 hours, depending on where you're at on the overtime list. But, you know, police officers as well, 12-hour shifts. They're sitting in a vehicle under a high-stress situation. They're eating their trauma, as you said, and they're too tired when they get home to exercise.
Yeah.
Or they're too stressed out. They're too traumatized. And the last thing they want to go do is push themselves.
Which is the best thing I do, but
it would be, but it's
tough.
Very hard. Yes,
it is. It takes some real character. And then, you know, the aspect that you keep hitting on that I don't think we've even really given as much weight to is the sitting.
Mm-hmm. Sedentary.
The sedentary part of it.
Go. No. Sit.
Yeah. Hurry up and wait.
Exactly.
You know, and I believe that has inflammatory side
Absolutely.
effects as
Right.
well.
So
And they said, what is this?
you're
Sitting is the new
sitting
smoking?
there playing on your phone, getting your dopamine hits, reading a book, whatever it is you do while you're sitting at post. And then the tones go off and you're on your way to a cardiac arrest or a respiratory arrest or deliver a baby or a stabbing or a shooting, whatever you're going to. And this could be anybody, fire service, police officer, EMS.
Yeah.
All of them are in that same boat. And now your heart rate is through the roof. Your respiratory rate is through the roof. You're breathing shallow. Your pupils get constricted because you're focused. Your brain is doing everything that it needs to do to recall what's the first things I do in this situation. What do I need to know? What do I need to have with me? And you're going from 0 to 100 like that. And then you try to slow down afterwards. And it doesn't go back down to 0 ever. You might go back down to 70. You might go back down to 75, but you're not going to go back down to 0. So they live in that elevated sympathetic system the whole time.
Yeah. And then you wonder why doesn't take much, but it's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
So,
did you know that more police officers and firefighters take their own lives than die in the line of duty?
No. And then we have that, kind of same situation with our veterans, right?
Oh, exactly.
I was at one every 23 seconds. And I think that number's come down.
22 per day is what it was for a long time. It's actually, that is a very old statistic and it's actually gone up.
Yeah. So, I mean, more than every,
right.
whatever.
Yeah.
So, and we have a lot of mutual friends.
Yes, we do. You got a lot of mutual years.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But, for one of our mutual friends who was a Marine, then in Marine Special Operations, and then he worked as a contractor after that. I mean, he put it very succinctly, and I don't want to get it wrong, but do my best. He said, as it was a young Marine, I felt like I was like a knight in shining armor. I had my shield. I was ready and I was going out to protect everybody. And then, that's what I seen myself as. And then, there was, when I went into special operations, it was a demon and I had to take lives. I mean, he worked with Chris Kyle. He had more confirmed kills than Chris Kyle. I mean, so everybody knows Chris Kyle was a decorated Navy SEAL sniper. And so he said that, this demon took over and what that demon wanted was more blood. And then when he went to work for a 3-letter organization, he said that demon was gone. And then it was different. It was a monster. And all it did was crave blood. And he said in his way of viewing that was when you came out of that craving from that monster, that demon didn't stop. And for a lot of these veterans, he said that they're taking their life because they're feeding it its last meal, basically. And it just really resonated with me the way he put it. And I'm not doing it as good as justice.
No,
but
I understand
he was just like, it just kept wanting blood. And the only blood they could give it was their own at that time.
Exactly. And to quiet that noise, they get deep into the substance abuses and most of the time their bodies are beat to crap. So they're on opioids to deal with those, and they get handed out copious amounts of all of this stuff through the VA, which doesn't, they're there to serve a purpose, and God bless them. I know they're trying, but when they can only cover it pharmacologically, it's not doing a lot of good. Thank goodness we're starting to see some initiatives with Ibogaine and things like that, some psychedelic medicine that we're going to do away with the way the government, really barred that and locked it down back in the 70s and the 80s. And hopefully we can get some help for those communities.
Yeah. Back in the 60s where it started, because we had literature that showed the effectiveness.
Right. Well, that's why they locked it down.
Yeah. And, on my side of it, I'm finding with a lot of these, especially the male patients, checking their hormones, getting them balanced hormonally, makes a difference. For a lot of these guys, they're able to come back and feel a whole lot better
Sure.
and need less of these medications,
Mm-hmm.
and without the alcohol and either pharmaceutical or illicit drug use, their lives are a lot better. Right. And they're a lot better off. So,
If we could do a 2-prong approach for them, I'll take care of the mind body connection. You take care of the health and
yeah.
everything else, and we'll get them living longer, happier, more fulfilled lives.
Yeah. And be able to put some of this stuff
Right.
to rest.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
How do we reframe the conversation?
I think we can move down to the tactical and spiritual
Right.
integration part
do
of
it.
it. We've beat the rest of it pretty good.
Okay. Both believe that healing isn't just physical. How do we integrate the tactical, the labs, meds, tools with the spiritual? Well, just you just did a nice segue. How are we going to put this together? Right.
Almost like I read it.
Like you wrote it.
So yeah, I do think that you have to start medically. You have to get the correct lab work. Your provider might not be drawing the right labs for you. They may be, and most probably are, just drawing baseline stuff. They don't even draw an insulin, a fasting insulin. You have to ask for that. You have to beg for that from a regular provider. So you need to get yourself to a provider that knows what to look for and get all of that straightened out. And in the process, start working on the spiritual side of it. And spiritual, not meaning the woo-woo. We can go there if you want to, but not meaning the woo-woo, but working on your mind-body connection, the mindfulness part of it, getting out of that fight or flight, getting into the parasympathetic, taking care of your soul and taking care of your heart.
Yeah, learning how to get out of your own way and relax. It's huge. It will help with your sleep, which is the foundation of a lot of this. But
talk therapy is great.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what you need, but to have the tools to reach into your pocket, not wait till next week when your psychotherapist has an appointment for you, but to reach into your back pocket and say, I can sit down with my breath and I can work on this. And then I can drop into a meditation. And in the morning, when I get up out of bed, I'm going to go stand in the grass outside and I'm going to ground myself, because the physiological changes that we get from grounding are phenomenal. And there's so much literature and information out there. I would really suggest that everybody look into that. It's so simple and it's free. I mean, like I posted yesterday, take off your shoes and go hug a tree. It's when we get in contact with the negative ions from the earth that we start to change our physiology and that we can start to really slow things down. And it's a simple, free tool that's right there. I mean,
I just, when you say it like that, I just wonder if the sand has more impact on that. Yeah.
Actually, damp sand has more conductivity than dry sand. And same with grass. Get in dewy, wet grass if you can, as opposed to dry grass.
This is why, I mean, when I walk my puppy.
Your horse.
Yeah. When I walk my dog at night, I usually wear, in the summer, I wear, flip-flops, and then I take them off and I walk in the grass.
Good. Yeah. Because concrete doesn't conduct. Paving doesn't conduct. You can once in a while find somebody who's done their patio with a non-sealed concrete, but it's very rare. But yeah, you need to get in the natural elements. If you can stand in a body of water, on the sand in that body of water, primo.
The last, when I went for a vacation a couple of years, well, not this January, the year before, I went to the Dominican Republic, and I went every morning I got up and got on the beach. I don't run. I don't run. I ran every day.
Wow.
Because your body felt like I wanted to run. And I said, I'm going to just listen to, I would run. I'd get to a point, I would do 100 push-ups, and then I would do some other exercises, and I'd run back and repeat that. And then I would, go shower off, because I'd be all sand cookie.
Yeah. But
and then
we don't have access to beaches here, understandable. No. But we've got parks, we've got yards, we've got trees, we've got.
But that's what I thought. I was like, the sand,
Absolutely.
And then, so I didn't know. And
yes, it's one of the most conductive, drawn to especially wet sand.
Yeah, and it was just so it's pretty important. Good. So, there was something I was saying. I lost the thought because that sand thing got
okay. That and the bowl, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I know what it was. It was also teaching just people to take a breath and be aware of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, that was the most powerful tool, was to recognize that I was in that
Spiral.
spiral.
Mm-hmm.
And once I went, oh, wait a second, you're in it. Oh,
Breathe.
I,
Breathe.
I'm the one who can control this.
Right.
And it
Exactly.
changed everything for me because,
Right.
you know, we've
But you
all
have
been,
to have the knowledge of the tool
yeah,
to have the awareness be effective. If you don't know what to do with it, oh, I'm aware of it. I'm spiraling. I'm losing control here, but I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
So once you have those tools, they're free and easy. Once you have them, you're good to go. And you know, the fact that you can tap into it and make a change is super good.
yeah, I guess that's really important, right? Is knowing what to do with it.
Yep.
What does purpose, identity, and community play in true longevity? Well, I think that's why we're trying to do it,
That's right.
right?
But have you studied at all anything about the blue zones? I know we've read some about it. You actually gave me a book that had to do with it. So if you
Yeah.
saw that years ago, but the elements that they describe that create these people with this incredible longevity, one of them is community.
Mm.
You can't be stuck alone in your house all the time. You need to get in with your community.
Be active.
You need to play. And you need to get out and move. In the blue zones, like in Italy, there's a blue zone in Costa Rica. There's one in Japan, which actually they've ruined it with fast food. But there's several of them out there. But all of the elements that they had in common, movement, play, community, and purpose.
Yeah. I think, yeah, because I remember hearing something about, the guy was in his 80s and his father was in 100 and something, and he was carrying something with, it wasn't much, but
And they walk
he-
everywhere they go.
yeah, and he
Yes.
felt like, I have to do this, like, right? Or, in Italy, there's towns that you can drive into, but once you get to where you're going, you can't drive around the town.
Streets are so
Just
tiny.
tiny, yeah. And so you have to walk everywhere, and you have, little old ladies. And I could tell you some of the hills in Tuscany, the streets go like this. They're a greater than a 45-degree angle.
Yeah.
And I'm killing myself. And the little old lady walks by with her cart, like,
Because she does it every day.
yeah. And you're like,
That's-
but that's her purpose. I got to go get the groceries and they're eating good, clean, whole foods, and their bread doesn't last for a week or a month there.
Right.
You get enough for the day or two, and
Exactly.
and then it goes moldy.
Because it's not processed.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
processed. So I think if we tie those elements that create these people that can then have this incredible longevity to our lives in the reality that we live in today, keep exercising. The sleep is super important, but to have a purpose and to get out there and play and to create community. If you don't have one, create one, even if it's just a small circle, but to have community and communicate within that community.
Yeah. I think, as we're talking initially to kind of trying to tie it in, we're talking about people in the service of community, right? And they're retiring. And it's like, I'm no longer this. And then, so what am I? And they've made their identity that, whatever it is.
Right.
Right.
And I can share my personal story to this.
Yeah.
It was one of the most difficult times of my life was when I retired from the fire department. You kind of saved me, made me come back to work. No, Doc, I'm retired. What part of that don't you get? But I lost my identity for so many years, 20 years. I was a competitive bodybuilder. For 20 years, I was a professional firefighter. I got accolades. I did very well. I loved my job every day. Even when it sucked, I still loved it. And suddenly, my swipe card didn't get me in the door at the fire station anymore. I didn't belong to that club. I wasn't married. My kids were grown, raised, and out of the house. I laid on my ass and I drank alcohol and I watched TV and I did things that are so out of character for me. About 3 months of that. And I said, this is really dangerous. I've got to pull out of this. And thank God I had the wherewithal to do it, because I have seen so many people not pull out of it. And the numbers of suicide shortly after retirement for first responders are skyrocketing. And it's terrifying. It's just terrifying that they don't have anybody to reach out to them. They pigeonhole themselves away and they just dwindle. They have no more purpose. They don't know who they are. They don't know what to do with it. It's a hard transition.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
for anybody. Any veteran
anybody
taking off, you take off that uniform and suddenly you're not in the club, you know?
And the worst part is because the club keeps going on like you were never part of it.
It's like taking a hand out of a bucket of water.
Yeah.
They don't even know
it has to,
right?
They
have to function.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But, you know, I mentioned to you earlier that one of my patients does mental health for first responders. And she relayed to me today, as a matter of fact, because I told you I showed her this and she was really excited that we were doing this together.
Hey. I'd love to speak with her.
She relayed to me that it's a Nevada law now that fire and police have to work with a mental health counselor at least once a year. And I didn't know anything about that. And I'm the medical director for the largest police organization in the state.
I don't know.
So I want to look into that.
That is actually, yes.
I do. I just want to look into it.
That.
Right?
I'll look into it on the fires.
I have no reason to believe it's not true because she told me and that's what she does. I just hadn't heard of it. And that
the legislature passing and the wheels turning don't always go hand in hand.
Right. But wow. I mean, just like if indeed that's true and they're working towards that, kudos to the governor for passing that. Kudos to the legislature for bringing that up.
Exactly. You know, and hopefully those insurance, you know, because once you retire, depending on your age and whatnot, you may not be under the umbrella of their insurance.
Right. I'm thinking this is just for the active people, but at least, you know, even for the active people, because at least they get some introduction to this and that they can carry on.
Right.
Right. Because right now there's nothing.
Right.
Or preceding this. Right.
Yep.
So
that's why I'm building master classes and courses, and I'm going to start teaching online courses to make it more available to the communities, because they hear about it here and there. You know, I post it ad nauseum, but I just want to help. It's my purpose. It's my calling, and it's my community. You know?
Well, and then let's go right into the next one.
Okay.
What wellness myth that needs to die? That getting mental health work, there's something wrong with you, or there's something. No, it's no different than going to the gym and exercising. You do that for your physical health. Your mental health needs help. Your emotional health needs help. And that's part of mental health. And if you don't know how to do it initially on your own, you need help from outside. And even if you do know how to, you still need help from outside. I fought tooth and nail forever until I finally came to you and said, hey, could you help me find a counselor? Right? Because I knew you had some experience in there. And I've had great relationship with my counselor. And I always thought, well, I'm a doctor, and so I have a higher qualification than counselor. So ergo, I am, and I had to check my ego and go, this is not what you do.
That's not your forte. Yeah.
Your forte is this. And so go see somebody over here who has this. And there's nothing wrong with you for wanting to improve your mental health and your emotional health. Because I for the longest time, me personally, I'd say, you know, my spiritual health is good. My physical health is good. My emotional health is stunted, and I had no idea how to improve it. We got to work on it. And I just didn't know how to work on it until I learned how to work on it.
Right. And that's the whole key, is you just need to learn the tools.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't have them in your own toolbox. You have to go and get them from somewhere else. So the one daily practice that I swear by, no matter what, is meditation. But I'm going to tie that with breath work. Meditation, breath work. I swear by it. I don't miss a day. Even if I stay laying in bed and do it, there is not a day that goes by in my life when I'm either not walking and doing a meditation, or sitting in meditation, or doing breath work while I'm walking, or just lying in bed and having a conversation with my creator, with the universe. You know, I swear by it.
Mine is focused around gratitude, but it's a meditation. because
Exactly.
it's the same
That's
almost
my
mantra,
every morning.
but it's
Thank you for another day. Thank you for this vessel that I travel this world in. Thank you for all of my opportunities and every one of my challenges. Because without my challenges, the opportunities won't get recognized.
yep. And I do that before I go to bed and when I wake up.
Yep.
It's just my,
I'm so glad that you've really stuck with that.
yeah, it's made a difference because that gratitude, having the awareness, getting the gratitude has really just changed everything for me. And, I've talked to a couple of close friends, and what it really did for me personally was it allowed me to actually learn and understand my value, which I didn't think was very much. And people are like, you sound crazy. You made it from a bouncer to a doctor and you, my brain didn't see it that way. Right. It was just, these were things I did, but I'm still the same. I try to be humble, which is good, but I didn't realize my true value. And then I wondered why all the relationships I had failed. And it was like the last few were like, well, look at the people. Right. And it's not
what's
them.
The common denominator.
Right. It's not them. It's me. I accepted this into my life.
Because that's what you felt you were worthy of.
100%. And then once I changed that, then the people that were in my life, not only in relationship, but just overall in my life,
right,
the quality of them rose. And it was
right.
Like, what? Like
the ones that didn't
right
carry the water and chop the wood, they faded away. And the ones that are there to chop the wood and carry the water, they're still with you now.
Yeah.
Kind of like us.
And yeah. and newer, relationships.
Right.
I mean,
sure.
It's the only way I found my wife.
Right.
Really.
You had to find love for yourself
100%.
And self-worth.
Yeah.
Because you can't love anybody else if you don't love yourself. And that's been the hardest for me. Mm-hmm. I spent a life of abandonment and abandonment issues and how many marriages that didn't make it and, struggled to get any relationship to last more than a short amount of time. And it was always me that ended it and me that bailed on it because I thought, well, I'll just sabotage it first,
Mm-hmm. Same thing.
These are all things that we have to learn, but it's all about self-love.
Yep.
And that all starts with gratitude, right? So right back to what you said.
Yeah. So what does resilience mean to me now versus what it meant to me a decade ago? You go first.
Okay. Not everybody's really aware of what resilience is. Resilience, if you go by the true definition of it, it is being exposed to difficult situations or traumas over and over and how you respond and recover from that. That is resilience. How you come out at the other end. And what I used to think was resilience was suck it up. Don't be a little bitch. Get in the truck. It's okay. Who cares what's going on at home? You've got fire to fight. You've got a baby to deliver. You've got, whatever was happening in my world at that moment. And my resilience was measured by how much I could swallow, how much I could deal with, how much I could stuff away and still continue to function like a normal individual. Well, now I understand that that's not resilience. I wasn't recovering from those things. I was just gathering them. Mm-hmm. And so now I've created this program. I do the work daily on myself. I don't need anybody to watch me do it. I don't need anybody to hold me accountable because I'm accountable to myself and I'm responsible to myself for my mental health and my happiness and my well-being. Meaning that I can now serve my family, I can serve my community, and I can serve the public better because I'm taking care of me first. Because I learned that resilience means you cannot pour from an empty cup.
No, that's beautiful. I think, as you say that, it just brought to mind, just yet another lesson that I learned was I would get through things not because of, but in spite of myself.
Exactly.
And the way that my inner dialogue was, right? You're going to lift something heavy and I would call myself everything but my name, and go lift it. As opposed to now, I'm like, you got this. We got, let's, and it's really no different. And it's just more positive. But I came to this realization and I don't even know how I thought to myself, and you know, your inner dialogue is terrible. And I think it was from a podcast that I was listening to, and I thought, would you talk to your mother the way that you talk to yourself?
Exactly.
And I loved my mother to death. I loved her dearly. And the answer was absolutely not. I wouldn't allow anybody to talk to my mother that way. And then when I said that, so well, why do you deserve less? And then it was like slap me in the face, and I went, I don't. Okay, we're gonna change that. Now we're gonna be aware of it. And when that voice would come in, I got you, I caught you.
Yep.
You're not doing this. Let's go. And we're going to change it around.
Talk to yourself with love.
Yeah. And it took some work, but again, there's that awareness because you had to catch yourself doing and go, no, that's not acceptable. And it's taken some time, but it's like that whole inner dialogue is so much different today than it was 5 years ago. And I'm so much happier inside because I'm not berating myself. I was worse to me than could ever be to anybody. Yeah. Right. So I don't know that answers the resilience, but
that's part of neuro-linguistic programming, which is another tool that I use. But the negative self-talk, oh, you dummy. Oh, you moron. What the F are you thinking? Or what the, to not even say those things, even in jest, not even in jest do we speak negatively of ourselves.
I think what got me with that was it was like an Indian saying was the inner wolf hears you. Mm-hmm. He hears that.
Yes.
And I went, okay.
You got to be careful with that. You have to be very, very careful with your words.
Yeah. And
especially towards yourself.
It's made a world of difference. Good. I try not to even, because I used to like to joke around with stuff like that, and then I try not to do that, and then
you will slip, but when you catch yourself and go, that's not what I meant to say, even if you just say it internally.
Well, I'll tell you, because you make those goofy little jokes or you think, whatever. And my wife catches me and she's like, don't say that. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was kidding, but you know what? Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Good. So it's pretty cool. Well, I think we did something. How long did we go?
Long time,
huh? We're way over. So if we bored you to tears, I apologize. That was negative self-talk. So we truly hope you enjoyed that because I think there was a lot to glean out of this episode. So we'll see you again next for episode 28. And I'm waiting to find out what that's going to be about because it'll be something fun. Okay.
And let me just invite everybody to come to my website, hollynicholson.net. You can follow me on all social media, Holly Nicholson. I love to teach breathwork, meditation, and all of the tools that are in my pain to power method of resiliency. And I hope to hear from you all very soon.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.